So quick recap. So we have, and you notice it's on the I can say it list. Just saying. Okay, so we've got the weight brush tool, which is amazing. Which if you missed it earlier on, you'll be able to see that later on and get the video of that. It's really good. We've got something called Tendril coming, which is a multi-capable geonode. It's fantastic. So we'll be showing that and actually doing a couple of sessions on that. A few like a first use of it, and then how you can use it in a more complicated way later. We've got thicken lathe nodes, geonodes coming. We've got photon shading coming for Octane. A fog shading, is basically already, I think I demoed that a little earlier on. We've updated the Unreal now to 5.4. Again, I think, is that available for the 2024? We're just going to allow that earlier, or is that?
No, that's coming with 2023, which
cool.
is soon.
Yeah, so very, very soon we're launching the 2023, which is really the end of that cycle. There might be an update, but for bugs, but basically that's the end of the development cycle for that. 5.4, so that's completely current. We've also done OpenVDB updates, so that now makes that completely current and gives us a lot more capability. We'll be exploiting that over the coming year. Python 2 for the Mac, we're making available, so that's really good, I think. Fantastic. We've got an edge shader coming from Elmar. Elmar has not slept for many weeks. He is a shadow of his former self because of the effort he's had to do on that and something else, which hopefully will accidentally let you know about later. We've got also a load of new lights being added. The new lights are really give some amazing capabilities in Octane, so we're adding those now. We haven't got them to show this weekend, but we are adding them. We've got a turbulence update, so OpenVDB for turbulence. We're still working on that, but that's going to give that again the ability to output OpenVDBs from turbulence. There is a Chronosculpt update coming, should be ready by this summer, but we're working on that. There is a fantastic, and this is brand new, an Alembic importer. So for those guys who are using Houdini, where you want to get out particle animations or clouds or whatever the case may be, that Alembic updater is we've got the first alpha of that now. It's working great. So it's not much to show. It's one of those things where you show it, load something, and it's done. So, but I will show that later on, and also show you something we just rendered with it, which Sean literally finished 5 minutes ago. So, we'll show that a little. That's going to be at the 4 o'clock demo. We've also got point slide and edge slide being worked on, which is very specifically for one person and one person only, Lewis. So no, it's going to be useful for everybody. It's going to be fantastic. It's a really it's one of those things that when you see how Lewis uses those things, you realize how unbelievably important it is to have it. So we're adding that. We've got a displacement brush which is coming. So if you've seen the weight brush, the displacement brush is coming as well. That's again going to be amazing. We've got remesher. So we've done a partnership with Steve Hurley, where Steve's sort of helping us out some things. We're going to be putting and bundling in his remesher, as well as advanced placement, and also an advanced placement. If you haven't used it, it's fantastic. And obviously also his up plugin, which is basically a flip fluid solver, really good. We'll be updating that. So obviously we're just getting that now, and don't think we'll probably do much updating for that in 2024, but we will be taking it forward and doing a lot more with it. And almost done. I've got 2 more things. We've also done a corporate sponsorship for Polyhaven, so we're going to be eventually creating or have the potential to create a dedicated link to Polyhaven inside Lightwave at some point, so we'd be able to actually access their stuff and drag and drop it onto the interface. But right now it means that we can sort of start using their stuff. We'll have accessibility for that on the website, but also it means that hopefully they're going to be making some assets that will be very applicable to some of the things we show this weekend, which was good. And then Sean has created for us a kit surface translate tool, which basically, if you use Kitbash, Max Trees, Megascans, or anything from textures.com, you can load up that directory and it will convert it over to be Lightwave native, all the surfaces, everything. It's unbelievably powerful and really, really good to use. I actually think it's got even more flexibility for that. So if you've got other directories for other bits, I mean, we're still checking those things out, but it should be unbelievably useful going forward for conversion of other things as well. But certainly Kitbash, Max Trees, Megascans, and I know obviously the Max Trees is particularly useful for the architectural business, Megascans, textures.com, etc. All of that is going to work as well. So that's me done. I think I've updated or got everything up to date, and so obviously we're open for questions.
Cageman, you shush, Juice. Cageman needs to speak.
Hello guys. This is wonderful. Can you hear me?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, wonderful. I missed the whole beginning of this, so this walkthrough from you, Andy, was really nice. I mean, I'm very stoked to hear all of this. I didn't know that you guys were in contact with Steve Hurley. That's super cool because he had done some really nice stuff. Anyways, my question is, you touched on it a little bit, but I wonder, is there going to be a sort of a bug fix patch for Lightwave 2023?
Yeah.
Or
so that's literally pretty much ready to go. So Juice has literally got it under the go button and under the trigger button, and we're just a day or so, a couple of days away from releasing that. So and that's got a lot of major bug fixes, loads of it's actually got a few new things in there as well, and obviously the Unreal update to 5.4 is in there as well, so keeping that completely current. So I don't think we kept count of the quantity of updates we did, but it's a stack of updates.
It's mostly fixes. It's mostly fixes and addresses to things that was found, between the PC release, the Mac release, and everything else.
It's at least 4.
Well,
so
I'm going to give you an example.
Will this actually put them into parity so that you have PC and Mac are being the same? So what version is this? Is it 02, I guess?
02.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Now I will shut up. Thank you so much.
No, it's all good. So so just to be clear, that the Mac has been ahead of the PC for a couple of months. This one brings them directly into parity, and from now on we'll be releasing both more or less at the same time. There's bound to be a week or two's difference between it, but it won't be months anymore. It will be both pretty much at the same time every time. So this brings those up to date. I mean, one little update, there is now a color differentiator on the instancing tool, whereby when you paint and when you erase, it changes color. So there's things like that, lots of little bug fixes. I mean, there's stacks of stuff we've done in there, so it's a really good update. So
Cool. Question in the chat from Andrew Coombe: is there any updates for Native Renderer?
Here we go.
Now, are we
Get
talking?
your phone ready.
Bear in mind, this is 2024 that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Let me admit people in the lobby.
I've done it already.
Oh, good. All right. Okay. I can not deny that we have been working on the renderer for 2024. We have some things in stock here. Like one thing that I'm pretty excited about, and I was hoping to have a rendering ready before it came up.
Do you need more time, Elmar? We can go to another question if you want to show something. That's all good.
Yeah, maybe. Give me a few minutes. Yeah,
we'll leave you on the edge of that cliffhanger. I have a very slow
CPU. I have a very slow CPU on this machine, and yeah. So, but I was probably planning on leaking something, so I'm gonna let somebody else maybe talk about other things first.
just so we all know, I have just moved that from the naughty list to the we're going to talk about it list. All right, so it's off the naughty list. Well done, Elmar. It's now on the good list. We will talk about it a little bit later on, and obviously Elmar's going to show something. So okay, so next question until he's ready.
So next question was there was one on there. Sorry.
Yes, Andrew, please can you read out your other list? That's from no.
Well, there's one here. Is there any fix for the clip map motion blur issue?
I don't know.
It's probably you, Juice.
Which one?
That's on our list. It's on our list.
On our list.
There we go.
Oh yeah, we've done it later. A couple of people just asked, if you could do. So what? What was it? What do I want? What did I miss with the modeler updates?
Okay, we can't really talk about that. That's a future thing, but it is clearly, obviously, something we are planning, have organised, and will be doing. It won't make it. Basically, it's a 8-month piece of work we've got planned for it. So it is not going to be. I mean, it may even be 10 months, but it's not something we can get done in time for 2024. So 2024 is obviously this summer, and we just have not had the time to be able to do that, but it is something planned, scheduled, and ready to be done. So it's happening. That's the most I can say.
Perfect. There was another one as well with the owners. Can they get access to software a couple of weeks before it goes sort of general availability? I will raise it up with Joe, our CEO, because I think it's a lovely idea. Especially because a lot of you invested in us very early days when you had no idea what the hell we were going to do. So yeah, I'll raise that with them. Then there's one on documentation. Where are we at having a full manual?
Well, the manual's going to stay on the website for now, and it will always stay on the website. If you want to have a printed version, that's a different thing. I think those days have gone now. I'm not sure if anyone produces printed documentation anymore. I do want it to be a wiki like the last versions at NewTek, and I want that to go further forward. So we're hoping that it's going to be there for 2024.
Awesome. Other questions. So, Kuzi, is there going to be any other update post 0.2 with Lightwave 2023, or is that essentially it until we release 24?
I'll weigh in on that one, and I'll say that it depends upon the egregiousness of any issues. If we find something that's just totally, absolutely horrible, I can try to get something addressed as an additional patch. It also depends on timing, and it depends on workload. If we're trying to push toward 2024, I don't know that necessarily we can spend a lot of time on a patch for another 2023. But if it's something that we could pull in and do, I'll see that we can pull it in and do it. We'll just have to play each one by hand.
I mean, bear in mind, I think the obviously when we launched 2023, that was at the end of last year. Mac version, I think it crept into 2024, and so obviously this one, with 2024 release, we're releasing that this summer. So it isn't that far off before we'll be doing that version. So just bear that in mind. If there's bugs in this version that we find on the 2023.2, the chances are we'll try to catch it to make sure it's remedied for 2024 anyway. So but both points are valid, I think. If it's urgent and needed, we'll do it, and some stuff might slip into 2024, and obviously there are things we're playing with that are working really, really well, but just we see things in there that, wouldn't it be nice if that happens all the time. So
good. Next one. Any fixes for instancing overlap like you managed with the instancing painting tool? From Andrew Coombe.
I know that we've got some input coming with some of the different scattering methods from certain other areas. I can't see how that wouldn't creep in the 2024 for instancing. So as far as a non-committal, I would say maybe. How's that?
Maybe, possibly, we'll think about it. We'll see.
Maybe, possibly. I know that the potential is there. We'll just see how it all shakes out.
I mean, just bear in mind, I think we have, lists of things that each of the guys is working on, which are obviously priorities for 2024. So sometimes it isn't the case of not wanting to get it done. It's just, if it's a feature, we can't necessarily let it get in the way of something that is a major feature that's coming in 2024. So it then sort of maybe at the bottom of the list as opposed to the top of the list, which doesn't mean it won't get done. It just means it will be done, after we've completed that list. And John in particular has a stack of stuff to do. So
I want to grab one real quick. I see Jeff is having a little bit of a discussion about the licensing and one user. Jeff, you can install Lightwave, full Lightwave, on as many computers as you want, but you can only run layout active as on one machine at a time. But you can run the command line for rendering on as many systems as you want. So you can, yes, render on other systems while working on one system with a single license.
And remember, we've still got, it's an old style rendering, but you're effectively 999 nodes of, effective. If you've got that many machines, which means you've got a very, very, very warm house. That's obviously, you can do that for free, right? So that's always been the case of Lightwave, is more or less unlimited machine usage for rendering.
And yes, that is for our renderer. We have no control over what other people do with their renderer, being Octane, Unreal, anything else. We control our stuff, and our stuff says, hey, 999 nodes.
Yeah, and actually, I did forget to mention it on the list. Obviously, we've got on Octane, the Octane Studio multi GPU one is finished as well. So we'll be making that available for the studio users with multiple GPUs. And again, remember, that used to be a paid for plugin. It is free for all Lightwave users. All you need to do is buy the multi GPU license from Otoy. And I just to say it again, I said it earlier on, cannot recommend it enough. If you're trying to leverage more render power, it is fantastic, and a really cost-effective way of giving yourself substantial amounts more power is just adding GPUs on via USB Thunderbolt port on a PC or multi GPU cards inside a machine. So yeah, so and of course, obviously, the single GPU version is included as standard with every Lightwave ongoing.
Well, Cageman's got another question. Go on, Cageman.
Oh yeah. Speaking of rendering, I am actually using a NRC a lot. This nice little UI where you can, have your machines being connected and do network rendering. Are there any plans on? I mean, I would say it's a functional, but there are some features that I would like to see. Let's say pause a node or things like that. Is there any plans on updating that? Thank you.
Yeah, it's definitely on the agenda. It's again a when. It's one of those. The rendering system we've got is, it's very basic, right? And it is certainly something where we need to do that. I haven't got any specific answers unless Elmer has given it some thought, but it definitely will be something we'll look at, and it's when, really. There is a chat which we started, but we haven't yet really had time to get it dealt with. I know a couple of third-party render systems are asking us to sort of link with them, which we again are looking at. I think Kat's got a couple he's suggesting, and I know that Juice has got one out there that we've talked about it. And so it is definitely something. Both the internal one needs to be improved, but also letting access to more third-party people. It would be great to sort of do a significantly more comprehensive job than we've currently got, and the ability to switch off individual nodes, pause nodes, all those sort of things would be very much on our radar. But it's at the moment, obviously 2024 list, it's not on that list for 2024, but I know it's something we will do it as soon as we possibly can.
Cool. And Inaki has a question.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey, first of all, congrats for all the big move that you guys doing. That is really appreciated for us. I just wanted to ask two quick things regarding anything similar to a quick Lightwave basic compositor, like the one we had with TP filter before, but it was limited by, I think, Viper resolution. So it would be nice having something like just to do a slab comps quickly, you know, composite different paths and so on.
Yeah.
And then regarding the image viewer, once you run the stuff, sometimes it's not that easy to compare versions, just fading between options. It's like a bit outdated. It would be nice, like a 2.0 or something like that. That were two questions. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, I can compositing, like an internal compositing solution is on our radar very much, and not just for like compositing within our own rendering, but with potentially third-party renderers as well. But that's like I'm not gonna go there right now. This is yeah. Andy is waving.
It's on my don't mention list.
It's on our radar. It's not something for 2024, but it's on our radar. But I can show what we're doing with the renderer right now. If I can
do so, please.
Yeah.
So,
sharing of the screen.
While Elmer's doing that, I mean, obviously, we're working on, an external, definitely partnership, but it's just not here now, and obviously internal as well. So just yes, basically. Okay.
So can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we added a couple of new things to the render panel. Let me show you. So for one, we have finally all the options that need to go for all the reconstruction filters, because that was a thing that we never really had. And let me go back. So that's one thing. The other thing is like the radius. Now, before it was in a camera panel, and it's still in a camera panel, but that's mainly there for backwards compatibility reasons. But or if somebody wants to set it globally, because by default the filter radius multiplier is going to be set to 1, so you can just set it for all of them. But one of the things that we did is, and that's particularly important for one of the things is that we did is you can now set the filter radius multiplier for each of the buffers individually. And what that does is that you can have a buffer that has the filter radius multiplier set to 0, and that means that there's effectively no reconstruction filter applied to it. And I'll show you this here. So in this case you can actually see it here. So this would be the final render, right? So it has the reconstruction filter applied. It's a little softer. The noise is softened out. But what we have is in the pre-effect buffer in this case, and you're gonna have an extra buffer coming actually that has some other options. But we can see here is, and I hope you can see that on the screen, but it does not have any reconstruction filter applied, so the noise is pretty raw. There's no blurring going on like you would have with the final render buffer. And what that allows us to do is, because we have this adaptive sampling error check here, and what that does is that the adaptive sampling error check will check that noisier buffer that has no reconstruction filter applied for the adaptive sampling error, and then adjust the adaptive sampling based on that. So it will say, hey, well, you still have noise here, so we're gonna fire some more rays at that noise, versus before we're using that the final render buffer, and it might not have had any noise anymore, but it would have some splotches, and that's essentially a way to deal with that. And that will greatly improve the results of the adaptive sampling if you set things right. And we're still experimenting with that right now. That actually just got done a couple of days ago, and I have not slept since then. So if I don't make a lot of sense talking, that's why. But the important part is essentially you're going to have your final render buffer, or AOV as they're called now, but buffers if you're an old fart like me, but you're gonna have your file render AOE, and you're gonna have your you're gonna have all your filters applied to that. You're gonna have all your your despeckle, your noise reduction, and all of that. And we're working on actually some neat stuff for that as well, and that won't affect the way the adaptive sampling sees the noise. So unless you want it to, but you can turn that off, the error check for this an example, and then it will just base it on that. But that's one thing that we did. The other thing that we did is we made the adaptive sampling a lot better. So it's not gonna ruin fine line and fine edges anymore like it used to in the past. So that's a big thing. What else did we do? So all the
Is there a way, Elmar, to preview?
Pardon?
Is there a way to preview where those samples are being positioned, like the error places, or like a preview of or a buffer with the sampling? Where are you setting those? Like the threshold.
So the like we used to have in like I don't know, until 2018, I think, right? You mean like where you saw like the white dots where the adaptive sampling was gonna work? That is something that's on our list to re-add. We haven't done that yet. But what I'm talking about here is, like, if I go back, what I'm talking about here is you have, see, like this pre-effect buffer, and this, again, there's got to be a special buffer for this in the future. But the pre-effect buffer essentially does not have any reconstruction filter applied. It's set, the radius is set to 0. So the noise is really raw. It's not filtered like by anything. It's really just the effect of the samples that have been thrown at the rendering, and what you see here. So like if there's not enough samples applied, you can still see a little bit of noise here. But so what was going to happen is it won't break your adaptive sampling error check just because you have been accumulating a lot of samples with say like some soft Gaussian reconstruction filter. But so that's essentially what this is about. It's like one of the big things we have. The other thing,
Elmar, Andy just wants as a question.
No, it's just a quick, because obviously we've got we're going to have stacks of questions, but I mean, actually overall, the render engine is having a substantial overhaul, and is going to be substantially better. And obviously that was what is fundamentally on my naughty list. So sorry, go on, Bob.
I mean, do you want me to show any more? Are we done? Or do you?
No. I mean, if you want to, without going into too much depth, because obviously there's so many things there we can show. Obviously, if you can just do a quick overview, would be good.
Yeah.
Of kind of, because I know some of it's giving some really big speed increases.
Yeah. So one thing we're doing now is the adaptive sampling is running the error check every. So before, what the renderer would do is he would fire a bunch of arrays, for the entire image or for the entire tile, and then it would do an error check pass, and then it would fire a bunch more arrays at those pixels that were identified as having an error. Now what we're doing, and with the adaptive sampling, is like we're checking after every sample. So we're doing an adaptive sample, essentially of the adaptive samples for all of the for the entire tile, and then we're doing another error check. Then we're doing, rendering the adaptive samples again, doing an error check, and so on, and doing that every time. And we made it so fast that there is no speed penalty for that anymore. So we essentially, you can use adaptive sampling with a 0 adaptive samples threshold, and it will render just as fast as it would without any, if you were rendering the full passes. So there's absolutely no speed penalty on using adaptive sampling, and you can use it with a very low threshold, and you still get a really good adaptive sampling, and it's still going to be faster than rendering full samples for everything. So that's one improvement that we did, and you can now see that in real time. You can actually, it's going to get updated after every sample pass. You're going to see like the result of that, and you're seeing that for the minimum samples as well. So that's what we have right now, and now I'm going to shut up before anything.
No.
Just stop sharing your screen there, Omar. Thank you, mate.
Yeah. So I mean, basically, it's a major point for 2024. The internal render engine is having major work. It has been being worked on for a little while. Has had a substantial amount of work done on it to improve it, and you'll be getting that in 2024. By the way, that will probably be an ongoing process after 2024 as well, but it's very much something we really wanted to improve. I mean, effectively, we had the Octane render engine. Obviously, there's the Unreal side as well, which give you really good rendering. The internal render engine is immensely powerful, but since 2020, it really had a few things that needed to be fixed, and Elmer has absolutely worked so hard at sorting that out, and I think it's going to be a major improvement on 2024. That alone, I think, is everybody's going to want it. So it's
back to questions, Andy. Excellent.
Sure.
Thank you, Elmar. So Tony, you've got a question.
Yeah, do you guys hear me all right?
I hear you perfectly.
Okay, cool. My question is about the image viewer. We do a lot of interior design work, mainly modeling and things like that inside of Lightwave, and we use a software that's online called Homestyler. I would suggest you guys just check out the way they implemented their image editor, because it's really robust and powerful, and it has like its own editor within its image editor portion, one for lights and then one for all color correction and adapting and depth of field. So those are all stored. So it's not really a question. It's just like for what we do, if Lightwave had that, and maybe it even worked with Octane as well. I'm not sure how it can work with both entities, but just take a look, because it's really great for stills. And I know my question is, do you guys know, do you plan on doing anything? Because there is an online rendering. I mean, we can use the resources of, I'm guessing, their servers or something. Is there anything like that ever that you guys would have? Like, I know Garage Farm one, maybe some type of online so we can render even faster.
So it's such a wide scope.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, obviously, Otoy have a, I think they still have their render option with a huge amount of GPUs for rendering. And obviously, I think I mentioned it earlier on, we're looking at third-party partnerships for render engine or render farm compatibility for doing rendering out. That we definitely will be looking at. And obviously, we're going to be looking at our own internal multi CPU render farm software as well, but that won't be just yet, but we will be working on that. As far as the viewer goes, it's absolutely on our radar to improve the viewing system in Lightwave. What's difficult is obviously for the third party Octane, obviously we are, there are certain things we can do, certain things are their responsibility to do. So as far as the preview system in Octane, we leverage what they allow us to leverage, and what they allow us to do, we then give you those facilities inside Lightwave to actually utilize. So there are things there I know they're working on, which will be useful on, but as they release those things, we will try to implement those things through Lightwave as well. But I know internally for the CPU render engine that Elmer's wanting a preview system that is better. And we've got, the trouble is at the moment, there's not trouble, there's multiple routes we could go. We just haven't yet decided which is the best route to go. Ironically, it was a very, very brief chat I had with Elmer, I think 30 minutes ago, or probably 50 minutes ago, where we were talking about there are new systems which are just available, which look particularly good for previewing, and so there are. It's on the radar. We're absolutely looking at it, but we will look. If you could post the link to the one you want us to have a look at.
I've got it already, Andy. I've got it.
Yeah, I have it.
Yeah, we'll follow up on that definitely. Yeah. So
that'd be awesome. And then any just this is maybe more future stuff, any AI kind of implementation? I know that's pretty big, and I've seen some awesome noise cleaning for images as well as texture enhancing. I mean, it's pretty powerful. So you can do your 3D work and then say your texture wasn't as high res enough. I've seen it where it goes in there and like say a carpet, it would go ahead and add that details to the carpet. It's like, whoa. Pretty neat stuff out there.
I'll answer on the noise reduction thing, because that's something that's been on my radar, and it's a very obvious thing to do. And we have there's this solution called Oiden, and we have already been actively investigating adding that to Lightwave. It's a very good solution. It's machine learning based, and it even allows us to use to train the machine learning algorithm with our own render and making it better.
That's cool.
And it's an open source solution, so it's fairly good. The main reason why we don't have it yet even is because it uses a newer version of CUDA than we currently have in our repository, which is being used by Turbulence 4D, which is not an intrinsic part of Lightwave and no longer like an external plugin. So it's compiled with the rest of Lightwave, and it's distributed with the rest of Lightwave, and it's more integrated. And we're planning on taking that further, actually, Turbulence. But the Turbulence essentially comes with a GPU accelerated solution for doing the simulations. And that is using CUDA, and it's using an older version of CUDA, and so we currently have that version in our repository. So we have to see whether we can update to the left one or get any conflicts or break anything. So there's going to be a little bit of process. Once we have that, then we can use Oiden and add that to as a solution for noise reduction.
That's great.
It's going to be a lot better than what we currently have. So.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, guys. Love all your work. Appreciate it.
But no promises until 2024, okay? Like that's not.
No, totally understand.
Disclaimer, disclaimer. This is all everything that's being said here is a forward-looking statement. It is not.
Disclaimer, disclaimer.
I mean, one more general comment, I think, on AI. The AI is when you do a lot of the post-correction stuff, it's very, very good on stills. It actually can be quite hard to implement on multiple frames, but obviously we are obviously looking at that. And then there's obviously AI for in modeling, animation, all kinds of things. We're looking at it across the board. So, so yes, I mean, to answer in general, AI very much is a big part of the future of what we're looking at as we go forward.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool.
Okay, Giles had to step away. I'm taking procedural modeling in future version of Modeler while keeping traditional way of direct modeling. You know, we can digress into, you know, essentially you know, feature requests for, you know, version 2030 as well. So I mean, you know, it's you know, we all want Lightwave to be as best as it possibly can in the shortest period of time. It's just we, you know, with resources, both monetary and personnel, there's only so much that we can get done in a given period of time. I think what we've gotten done in a year is damned impressive. But it is one of those things that, you know, I think we're open to all ideas. I think I could feel pretty safe in saying that. But any specifics on things like that, then, you know, who knows? Who knows, honestly? Because it is one of those. I mean, even we talk about AI right now. Who's to say what the next big thing in 3 months is going to be?
Yeah, and we are constantly open, and we're always talking. So, I mean, just as a bit of background, you know, we chat pretty much every day in different groups, but we're all, you know, we're chatting all day, every day about new features, new things we're adding, looking at things we're already coding, how can we improve X, Y, and Z. And we're very, very much looking at, you know, new things, new techniques, new technologies as part of that. And I think so if you have an idea, you just keep sending them in, because we are listening. It just obviously, you know, we don't have any secretaries, so we it's very different. You know, it's us who are doing the responses as well as doing the work at the front end. So it's sometimes we may not be quite as open, but it's not intentional. It's just, you know.
And by that same token, Wolf Shaman, you know, updates on import export to other programs. Sure, you know, we want to be the kid on the playground that everyone wants to play with. I mean, that's kind of the point. But as far as any kind of time frame or timeline, you know, tell me who's going to be owning Substance next year. I mean, how many? It seems like some of these companies get bought up and changed and modified, and who knows what, you know, in any given period of time. It's really hard to support a third-party company because we have no control over when they update things or when they change their SDK or when they break features or add features or who knows what. So it's just one of those things that, you know, bear in mind that those kind of input-output solutions are difficult to maintain.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the reason we have a list I'm not allowed to talk about is because there are things on there we are working on with partnerships with people and links with people, but we're, you know, it's early days, and, you know, bear in mind we obviously bought it last year. We built a lot of links already, great amounts of goodwill out there, and we're going to continue that and further that. But Juice is 100% right. We don't like to mention some things until they're actually physically done and in there, and but obviously we want to absolutely play nice with everybody else. Part of the reason, by the way, that Sean's created that plugin for doing the conversion, is that instantly means we're playing nice with 4 external companies, libraries, right? So, it's very, very, very much on the radar for us to make that as accessible as possible. Part of the reason for the Alembic update was for Houdini. We have a quite a big section of the Lightwave community use Houdini for particle work and those sort of things, and then import it back into Lightwave, which is a bit of a dog to do. Not a dog, it works great, but it's not the smoothest route. But by putting Alembic, brand new Alembic in there that supported point data and time data, it meant that we're able to support that much, 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 much better. And again, that's an instant fix to work with Houdini, but not just Houdini, other packages as well that can output that kind of data. So I think that also works with RealFlow and a couple of other things. So it's very, very, very much the case that is what we want going forward. But that doesn't take away from the fact that obviously longer term, we want Lightwave to be able to do as many of those things built into Lightwave as we possibly can. So yeah.
Let's see. Yes, Rod, I'm trying to keep up with them as well. It's kind of difficult.
I'm back. I've got one here. So there's some questions in bulk from Papu. I don't know. Third party. A number of third parties seem to be missing. Have you tried contacting them and recovering the effort invested in their work? Andy.
So obviously we I mean, there are some who are going to want to stay separate. There are some that we'd like to embed and build in. There is some on my I can't mention list that we're already absolutely aiming to sort of work with, have included or whatever. So it's when we don't mention something, it's simply because the ink isn't dry or something isn't transferred yet. So until we try to only mention things when we are 100% guaranteed that that's going to happen, right? So if we, we did the same last year, there was a load of things we didn't mention but suddenly appeared towards the end of the cycle, which surprised loads of you. So I think Turbulence was one of those. The Octane partnership was one of those. We started working on that many months before, and in fact we had green light on those many months before, but we didn't announce it to just before the November release, mainly because we hadn't yet put the plugin in, right? So what we try to do is we will tell you as much as we possibly can that's guaranteed, and then anything on a partnership which is we may well have signed already, but we don't have it physically in our hands. Until it's physically in our hands and we know it works, we don't tend to mention it. So that's all that's a case of. But yes, in a nutshell, absolutely, there are more who we are contacting who we want to have their stuff in, and there are some we just have not had time to call. A lot of it's been proactive, by the way. Some of those people have been contacting us. We've then done something with them straight away. So if any of you are third-party developers and we haven't had time to come through to you and you want us to help you with something, just call. It isn't because we haven't wanted to, it's because we're limited. We're obviously a young company.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, and there's a lot going on. Yeah. And good stuff, by the way. It's all been very positive, but it's no offenses meant, So.
All right, another quick question. Unreal, in its current state, the Unreal Bridge seems to be aimed at Lightwave users who want to render in Unreal Engine. Are you thinking of doing something to get Unreal Engine users to use Lightwave as a companion tool?
Actually,
yeah, that's big on our list.
Yeah, I mean, I think we the Unreal link we've got is so. There are a lot of things where I think you can model substantially faster in Lightwave for putting sets and things together than you can in Unreal. But then there's some things in Unreal that are amazingly quick to do. And the idea of the link we gave currently is to try to give the users the best of both worlds. So that's both for Unreal users who are specifically Unreal users, but also for the Lightwave community as well. However, we are we obviously, that was stage one. There is a stage two. We are planning to do more and more going down that route. I think is the safest thing I can say. But we do actually think Lightwave would benefit a lot of Unreal users already, and that is something we probably need to shout about more. I mean, the link is fantastic and works really, really well. We are keeping up to date with the releases and getting those sort of done straight away. We have not publicized at all to the Unreal community that Lightwave's got that seamless link. But we need to do that. But there will be more things we're adding, and likewise things we want to do that we want to take from Unreal and have compatibility going into Lightwave. So we see that as an ongoing development pathway.
Perfect. OIDN is neat. I know DuPont made OIDN LW option. I think there's been a couple on DuPont being asked and stuff, and similar to what Andy said before, we're talking to lots of different groups, and it's until things are signed, sealed, delivered, we can't really do much more with the announcements there, because there are loads of different things we're talking to different people about. Any news on Owner's channel on Discord? I think this is said on previous streaming, was it? So I could probably answer that one. On the Discord, we've been umming and ahhing whether to remove it, because it's got the forum and the web page, but then people do like Discord and there's lots of info on there. It's a maybe, we don't know yet. We are looking at what we can do more for the owners side of things as well. It's just obviously we've been focusing a bit on getting all the updates done, the website built, and the asset store as well being built up, and all that stuff coming ready. So the owner stuff will come soon.
Actually, just a quick thing on Discord. Obviously, I haven't spent as much time on Discord in the last 6 months that I did earlier than that, and there's multiple reasons for that, and it's often because we're stupidly busy trying to do get other things done. And also, I did have a period where I was away. I had a hospital and numerous things I was recovering from, which did put me out of action for a little while. So I will try to spend a bit more time on Discord, which I just haven't had time to do. But it's not because we don't want to. It is literally because we are constantly working on new developments for Lightwave, so which does take up a lot of our time. So anyway.
Cool. Carlos said one of the things I'd like to see improved is the modular snap system and also added to the layout.
Yep. But yep, I agree.
I can actually talk about that, because that was on my to-do list for 2023, and I hang my head in shame. I couldn't get it done.
It's on my good list, though. It's on my good list. No, it's.
I wanted to work on that for modeler and for layout. And I mean, for layout, we sort of got something with Pro Tools, and that was one of the reasons why I let it slide a little bit. And for modeler just needs a lot of love and tender care, and that's one of the big things that's on our list to do. It's one of the big items that are probably not going to happen for 2024, most likely not going to happen for 2024, but it's on our to-do list. It's something that's really important, and it's also important because part of that is bringing layout and modeler on equal footing when it comes to how they're doing things, how tools work in them, modeling tools work in them, so that we can have modeling tools work in layout as well. But it's very difficult, and it's not going to be something that I can promise in 2024. I say most likely not.
Just a quick thing on the snap, and obviously Elmer's saying he missed getting it done, but just to explain that, when Elmer, and I think I covered this quite early on last year, that when Elmer looked at the rendering code and the modeling code, Elmer showed me one day how many, it was a page of dead ends of the amount of bits in there where it literally goes in cul-de-sacs where there's nothing, but the code, just to go and clear all those dead ends is weeks and weeks of work. And so Elmer has been really, I cannot stress enough how big a job it's been, him sorting out the render engine. It's been a huge job, and he's done such a good job of it. And the only reason we weren't going to mention it today was because we were going to surprise you with it when we get closer to release. But it is going to be great. But it did require a massive overhaul, and that is exactly what we're about to do with the modeler. But again, that's going to take equal amount of time and effort to get that done. But we very much hear you about the snap tool. so yeah, we want it to.
It was on my list of things that it should be so easy to do, and I know how to do it because I have done like stuff like this for both my volumetric standalone application, which is not tied to Lightwave, and even with voxels. And I did the same thing for a tool that I made in Unity. And I thought, like, okay, I've done this before. This should be super easy. And then it didn't turn out to be that as easy as I thought. So yeah, I hang my head in shame. I apologize. I wanted to have it for your yeah.
Nice.
Well, at least you know everybody wants it.
Exactly. Tony, thank you for your patience with your hand up. Please go ahead.
Yeah, just some 2 quick questions. With the introduction of the node modeling, will you guys change kind of its workflow so we can actually even do like a basic kind of modeling and extrusion, and then say add a subdivision node to it or something like that? Something that is a more linear workflow as far as its process. So, I mean, I don't know how much you guys played with it, but yeah, you add your object, you add your edit poly, and then now you add the poly, now you add an extrude, now you have to add another edit poly. So, as a workflow, it's not really, I tried so hard to be like, let me try to build something and just to see what I could do. I mean, it's great for the Booleans and all those things. So maybe I'm just not in the mindset of its use case. But I heard node modeling, and I heard like, oh, that would be great to have a nice workflow that is a little bit more organic and what's used to it for modeling. And then the other one is the let's see what I wrote here. The Pro Tools, are the Pro Tools being updated as well? I know you guys have been mentioning updating some of those.
Yeah, if I answer that, quite a few of the Pro Tools have been updated on the 2023.2 release, so they are definitely being updated. The problem is there's 500 to go through, so it takes time, right? So, but we are definitely updating those, and some of them will eventually be integrated, some of them will be merged, some of them are already merged actually, and a lot of work is being done on those. But it takes a lot of time. So that's the first thing. With regards to your first question, so obviously, it's one thing to create a load of geonodes. It dawned on us at the time, and obviously even more so since, the hardest problem is they're really complicated, right? You've got chains of things that just aren't intuitive, and so what is needed are stacks and stacks of presets, so that if you want to do X, you load up that and you're already ready to go, right? So what we've got planned, part of the reason we're doing what I call Preset Central, which I announced earlier on, is so that we can do loads of presets for GeoNodes, to enable you to do really complex things very quickly and very easily in the layout. So one of the things I think Juice will show on the next demo, and then I'll be showing at the, where am I doing that? At the 6 o'clock demo, is you'll see that on one of the things we're going to be doing is, like plant growth sort of thing. Okay. And that, if you see that node group when you first see it, it's like, oh my God, right? So. But what I've done is I've tried to start breaking that down to explain how that works, and we'll save that. That node group will be available in Preset Central. It will kickstart you and then enable you to go and do a load more things, right? So we absolutely, totally understand about GeoNodes, because believe me, it isn't just you who are saying it.
Okay, yeah, because coming from Max was layer stack based, but I was hoping like, oh, maybe it's more like the edit poly is always live. You can go back to it, make all your modifications, and keep growing on the mesh. I know Max is a different beast because it is more linear, but I figured it would be more like an edit poly like that. I do have one quick other question. Directory creation and modeler, that would be nice, because we usually do start modeler, and it always references your last content directory from layout, but it'd be neat to have modeler have just like create the content directory. That'd be a nice little quick thing.
That has also been requested a few times, largely by the architectural community, so that they can point for all their content. Do you know what? I don't know where we got to it on it. I know we talked about it, but it definitely will be noted. Giles, if you can just mark that down, bud, and we'll follow up on that definitely.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Say that again in plain English.
Yeah, it's a directory. It's complicated to go through now, but I'll actually just remind me afterwards. It's the ability to create directories and point directories for projects from Modeler that enable you to just quickly point to it and create stuff for it that enables you to load up stuff quicker. So we just don't have that.
Done. Thanks you very much.
One thing I have seen brought up a couple of times is any word on fiber effects and rigging tools, because we did talk about weight mapping and rigging and things, and I know that Rigit is big on the mention, but rigging tools and anything for fiber effects.
So the rigging thing, the only reason it's on my can't mention list, but it's simply because we're working on something. We just don't have that in our pockets at the moment, right? So we completely want the rigging to be as good as the best rigging available. We are working on it, and we are close, but until it's absolutely in my pocket, I can't announce it. I'm hoping I will be able to soon. So that's the rigging. That's the question on rigging. So but yeah, we're very much on it. What was the other question? The other part of that?
Fiber effects. Fiber effects.
Yeah. So fiber effects is John. So John's got a mountain to climb on a load of stuff that he's working on at the moment. So it is absolutely on our. We want to have a fiber node so that you can do grass. Obviously, you can instance grass, but it would be nice to have something where we could have grass that you could blow wind through and those sort of things. We are looking at a couple of solutions for the short term, and then there's solutions for the long term. Probably one of the problems with fiber effects, it tries to do everything, and it therefore is not a master at any one thing. We probably need to break things down so that we end up with a grass shader, a hair shader, because whilst they sound like the same thing, actually there are different requirements for those, and I think we need to probably refine that a little bit and really think about that a lot more than we currently have. We will, obviously it won't be for 2024, but I promise you we will be looking at that because we know we have to do something for that. And Elmer, you can see by the pain on Elmer's face, he knows it. So we will remedy it, but it's time.
It's like every time Andy says we need something, like there's another weight on my shoulder, and I'm like, I have shrunk. I swear I've shrunk almost a foot since I started working.
He was a very, very tall man.
I used to be like 6 foot tall and very handsome. Now look at me.
Yep. You look like a ghoul from Fallout. So.
Right. We've just time spot for you, Andy. We've got roughly sort of 15-20 minutes worth of what we had scheduled for this live event. So if there's anything specifically you wanted to bring up as well as part of your announcements, talks, whatever, then we just keep going through a few more questions.
Yep. Do you want to should we? Obviously, we've got to have some limit because I know there's some other things to show after this. I'm not sure how long that is. So yeah, should we just do a few more questions and then we can stop? We'll try to answer some questions at the end if you want.
One point that a few people have said, it'd be good if you wouldn't mind just doing a very quick run through of general bits and bobs of what you've covered, a rehash of what's 2024, what are we doing, what are we looking at, what's on our to-do lists. And one quick question that's I think come up a bit is Python 3 for Mac. Python 3 generally.
Python 3 to Mac was what actually slowed us down before Christmas. It was the thing that caused our biggest delay, was basically trying to get that working across platform perfectly. And so we ended up doing a Mac release initially without Python. I think it was that way around, and basically went down the Python 2 option route. Now, basically, Python 2 was not available for the Mac. Technically, it's not supported by the new Macs, but there is a way around that, which we've done, which basically means Python 2 is now available, which is what we've got in the next update, I think, in the 2024 update. So Python 3 is definitely coming. It's not difficult for us to do. It's just difficult for us to do in sync with the Mac, and that is what's caused us problems, because it's the backward compatibility problem we have, which is basically you suddenly find 500 plugins don't work, right? So we can do the implementation easily, but the problem is we then lose a load of functionality, and that was what really drove our options just before Christmas, just after Christmas, and to date. So we are working on that, but just bear in mind that is what has slowed that down, because we thought we'd have that for 2023, and we obviously just couldn't do it. But that's why we've got Python 2 in the Mac on this build coming, is because of wanting to make sure we can then get all those plugins working and keep working on the Mac side without breaking anything. So so forgive us for that. We'll update you over the coming months on that, but we are working on it. Shall I just quickly do the update and just run through again? Okay, so the update. What should I start with? Weight brush. So we got a brand new, for anybody who's only just joined us, a brand new weight brush tool. Would recommend going back and looking at the video of that. It's fantastic, really flexible. Part of an ongoing brush system that we're implementing over multiple versions of Lightwave. So this one has the weight brush and will have the displacement brush. There is more coming. So we planned a whole element there, which is going to be being worked on, but weight brush is the first we've shown today, and it's awesome. Tendril is coming. So Tendril, we've had it named because it can be used for things like grease pencil sort of work and numerous things. We at one point called it Steve, but none of us thought that was a good enough name long term. Steve,
I
the
liked
plugin.
it. I was good with it. Steve-a-gon.
Steve-a-gon, yeah. Anyway,
I was for Hyperpaint.
Hyperpaint
And Hyperpencil, that was my favorite. I mean, come on. Hypervoxels, we had Hypernerves, Hypervoxels.
Yeah,
if you all can remember
Steve-a-gon.
when.
I think Andrew Coon's got it. It's Hyper Steve. We should have called it
Hyper Steve.
Hyper Steve.
Hyper Steve. So at the moment we've got a working name of Tendril, and we'll be showing that in multiple forms on the next demo and on the demo after. We've got a big tutorial of that, or a big demo of that. So we're adding obviously a thicken node and a lathe node. And by the way, this time round with the nodes, we will have some base scenes to set people up so they can actually use them and get used to those. So we'll be doing that. We've added photon shading, which is a big one, and fog into the Octane. We've updated Unreal to 5.4, OpenVDB update, which is a big update, but a lot of the benefits of that will come over the next year. But OpenVDB update. Python 2 for the Mac, just explained why that's Python 2, not Python 3. We've got an edge shader that I really, if Elmer can just show a basic of that at some point today, we'll show a bit of that, but it's fantastic. So that's really, really good. That just dropped you in it, but anyway. So we've got a load of new lights coming for Octane, which enable you to do volumetric streaming lights, those sort of things. We've got a turbulence update coming in 2024, which allows you to output OpenVDB version of turbulence stuff, which then makes that compatible with Unreal and makes it a little bit easier in Octane as well. Chronosculpt, we're updating. We're in that should be this summer, but it may end up being knocked on. But we're working on that. We've got an Alembic, major Alembic update. So Alembic, or the Alembic we had, didn't allow you to put big particle streams in there and over time. So you can put animation in there. You now can. So there's an Alembic updater. I will show that. It's very, very basic. You just load in the Alembic and it works. So we've got basically an Alembic importer, but particularly good if someone's using Houdini in their pipeline, which it means you can get out all that fantastic Houdini particle stuff into Lightwave and then utilize. So that's available. So we've got we've got a Lewis specific tool. No, it isn't for Lewis specifically, but it's point slide and edge slide. That's being worked on now as well. So I think I just mentioned displacement brush. So and then on the there's a kit service translation tool, which basically translates stuff from Kitbash, Max Trees, Megascans, and Textures.com. So if you're working with those, you can just import the stuff and it goes into Lightwave Native easily. The surfaces and all those parts of it. So that's done by Sean. Fantastic piece of work. We've done a comprehensive. We've done a corporate sponsorship with Polyhaven. So we're the aim there is to get them to develop some things that we need for very specific areas of things we're going to be showing later on today. But that also means that longer term we could potentially do a plugin link for Polyhaven like you have in Blender with Polyhaven. So we're working on that. That's a new thing, a new sort of partnership. And we've also got a little partnership. I say a little partnership. We basically dragged Screaming out of retirement. No, we haven't really. Steve Hurley. We've basically done a kind of really had a really great chat with him. So we're getting the advanced placement tool in Lightwave, which if none of you have used it, it's a really useful, fantastic tool and uses a different physics system than Bullet. But the system it uses is particularly good for a certain type of thing, hence the reason advanced placement. And so we're including that. That's going to be in there. Up as well, which is like a flip fluid solver, so we can start doing basic water with Lightwave. Well, by the way, we'll put the Hot Ocean plugin also in Plugin Central, so people will be able to use that as well for doing oceans. But basically, the Up plugins are going to be included. And there is another plugin which we've it was what really triggered the chat initially. There was is it called Remesher, Juice? I
believe it was called LW Remesher.
Yeah, LW Remesher. An unbelievably good plugin. If you're into character animation and obviously we're thinking Taran and those sort of people, but particularly good for this stuff. If you call up the model, you turn on the plugin, it then puts these markers and lines of color around the face that show you where the polygon shapes are going and how that's going to adjust if you move a point. And it then allows you to adjust and sculpt that in a very refined way for getting the mesh to be and the detail to be where you want it to be. So it's a major plugin. It's a fairly specialist plugin, but we absolutely love it. And if you're doing big character work, it's a really, really great plugin we're adding there, which will then hopefully go on to our further things we're going to be adding on for character animation as we go forward. So that's I don't think I've missed anything out this time. No, I think that's everything I'm allowed to talk about. So yeah, I think that's good. Yeah, is that good, Juice? Did I miss anything? Did I need to be muted for saying something wrong?
I think you should just mute you on general principles. I mean, just to be safe.
pretty much the same as every meeting we yeah. So yep, I think that's good. You happy, Giles? Are we?
Yeah, we're perfect on timing. This is exactly where we needed to be. We've got a few minutes if there's any sort of last pressing questions. There's one interesting one from Jono, which is Lightwave has always been built on the principle of a single person being able to do everything, etc. Generalist software goes, but where is the question? Is there a vision of what that would be when speaking about Lightwave in terms of how do you showcase this to wider people who maybe never heard of Lightwave, but know the blenders, know the other bits, but show here's what Lightwave is.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously don't want to single out a specific package, but we have been looking and studying and using a lot of other packages. And actually, in my company, we use multiple packages in the pipeline. I think someone pointed out to us the other day, we'd forgotten how good Lightwave was with After Effects and, for transferring stuff backwards and forwards and those sort of things. Lightwave has immense power. A lot of that immense power has been forgotten. A lot of it, is people who have been coming back to it have been amazed how many things in there they'd forgotten how fast they could do in Lightwave that you can't do in other packages. There's also a point where there's a lot of other packages where there's a lot of tools that we're obviously putting into Lightwave, where a lot of the tools on that system aren't necessarily compatible with other bits of the system. So it looks great, but actually in usability, it isn't as fast to animate with. Often the things aren't using the same terminology as the effects industry and the film industry are using, which makes life a little difficult for compatibility with Maya and certain pipelines and Octane and stuff. So everything about Lightwave we're building is designed for speed, fast usage, and enabling you to output stuff as a single animator or a small group of animators that enable you to compete and beat bigger groups and studios, back to basically what Lightwave was originally. Now, bear in mind, I have a working animation studio. I'm still, sort of heading the animation department of, whereby we're using Rhino in combination with Maya, in combination with Lightwave, and we are able to pump out stuff extraordinarily fast because of the pipeline being so flexible. One of the things in Lightwave, which I think I showed at the last demo, was Lightwave, with Octane rendering, and the texture pipeline was running across 3 packages in real time instantaneously. So I had Unreal up, I was altering that in real time, I had Octane up, and I had Lightwave up, and all the pipeline was seamless between them surfacing wise. And it's that capability, it's the speed of animation, and obviously the things we're aiming to add and the things that we are adding are all about making your workflow as fast as possible. And so yeah, that's where we're aiming, that's where we're heading. Good.
Perfect. The last one from Wolf Shaman was, I still run across people that think Lightwave is still dead. Is there any effort besides word of mouth to spread the word that you guys are back?
Yeah, so we don't have huge advertising budgets, but I mean, there is a review in CG World this month talking about Lightwave very much not being dead, and a really good review. And I know there's more reviews coming out over the next few months. And obviously that's happening on the social media side. We have limited resources. I mean, if you obviously word of mouth, it's obviously worth getting out. And I know that we have limited resources. Do we spend 100,000 on advertising, or do we spend 100,000 on the render engine? There's the problem. It's about where do we spend the money at any given time. Now, as we get bigger, that will be and by the way, we have been surprised, hugely surprised, by the amount of people coming back to Lightwave, but also, and I think I mentioned this right at the beginning of the day, how many films and TV shows are currently being created in Lightwave. So there's a TV show that I think actually Juice mentioned the name by mistake recently, but it's a huge TV show. We can't mention that till Christmas time, but it is a major TV show that's huge, and that's done in Lightwave. And there's obviously loads of the Star Trek things which are still current and still being produced, are being largely done with Lightwave.
There's that interview you're doing, Juice, with a gaming company.
Yeah, again, in fact, there's a couple of gaming companies and a few of our beta testers work for them. So it's, Lightwave is being used across the board in significantly more places than you think. Now, before we bought it, a lot of it was that a lot of people just weren't shouting about it because they are pros, they work 18-hour days, they don't have time to shout about it. And I think that therefore, in the community as a whole, everybody just thinks it's not being used. But actually, one of the biggest and best prop makers in the world at Pinewood, he is the main guy at Pinewood putting out stuff for Marvel movies, for the Star Trek stuff, everything. He is entirely Lightwave. He makes every prop he makes, and he did the the build of the, so some of the stuff he's doing is going out to 3D printing, some of it is going out for CG, but the stuff he's doing, like James Bond Goldeneye, not Goldeneye, James Bond, what was the one where they blow up the Aston Martin? Skyfall. So on the miniature, which is a 3/4 miniature, which is blown up in the film, that was created and built in Lightwave, then 3D printed, and then blown up on the film. And lightsabers, he does so much of the stuff that you see, both the CG versions and the prop versions. And then there's other guys I know who have worked on major movies in the last 2 years, but most people believe that those major movies were entirely filmed. So we can't get publicity out on them because all the press has been about they filmed it. None of it was CG.
Yeah, it's all practical.
Stacks of it was CG.
Such a lie.
Yeah, it's just not the case. And so all I can say to you is that, yes, obviously, if you can help and get publicity out and mention it to people, that's great. We'll do more as we get bigger and we have more time and we have more staff, but that's going to take a bit of time. But there is stacks of stuff being done out there at the highest level of film, TV, gaming, everything across the board where Lightwave is being used extensively. And I cannot stress enough, it was never dead. It certainly isn't dead now, and is growing. And we have stacks of new licenses, being bought, where at the beginning of this there was none. That is going up. More and more people are buying and adding seats, and in fact, jobs are starting to appear again publicly for Lightwave animators. And across the board, that's growing again. So yeah.
I think the best purchase we've had from an old Lightwave user who's come back was at least 16 years ago since their last purchase, and they bought 2023. I think that's the oldest one we've had. One just to add to what Andy was saying as well, one of the things we've been doing, as you've seen, we've done a bunch of interviews for this day, pre-recorded ones, obviously, with different Lightwave users. Is if any of you out there are doing TV shows and movies and games and architecture, etc., we are more than happy to do an interview or an article that we've done on our blog with you guys to help promote some of that and put that on our YouTube channels and our social media channels, because a lot of you guys are out there creating stuff. And like Andy said, we'd rather spend £100,000 building something in Lightwave than spending it on marketing about how great it all is. But if you guys can help us with what you guys are creating with it by helping us show that, that saves us a lot of money on marketing, but it means we get that message out there that, it's not a 30-year-old technology that no one uses anymore.
Yeah. And I think every time we post one of those interviews and to the social media channels, they get copied and pasted everywhere and we, literally more people update, more people come back and buy Lightwave. So it's absolutely, and I think I said it again at the very beginning, we owe a huge debt of thanks to the users who initially signed up with us, who went out and did, create more publicity. We cannot and we could not have done what we've done so far without the help of the community. And we said, right at the beginning, we need the community, the Lightwave community, to sort of get back on board, and they very much have, but we cannot stress it. We need it, we want it. We'll support you in any way we can, and obviously we'll do more as we get bigger as well.
All right, we'll probably wrap it. I just saw the last one, SIGGRAPH, and obviously NAB, things like that. Yes, we will look to do those into the future, but again,
Hi, James.
I don't know who that is, but turn your mic off. Yes, we want to do those. It's just a cost thing at the moment, because obviously to go and do one of the booths in there at SIGGRAPH costs a lot of money. And again, it's that whole development. Yeah. Hold on, I'm going to get my mute power button on Graham. There we go, muted. So yes, we definitely want to. It's priorities of development first, and then we will eventually get back out to SIGGRAPH. And I think someone mentioned road tours as well. Again, it's something Andy and the team and I have all discussed about how do we start to go out there and showcase what it is we're doing. And to your point, guys, getting the news out there, and we're not dead.
Yeah, I think, as an example, I think Kat is at the next big trade show, and I can't remember what that is, but that show he's at, he's asking if anyone wants to meet up there. He'd love to meet them, and it's back to, it's good to get user groups going again, and get I know Simon Coombs is I know actively working with the LA community. That's again really growing and getting a lot of users talking again. So again, anything we can do to help, we want to help and support. So yeah.
As far as the trade shows go, I know that I have made mention in the past, just kind of as a secondary thought until we could afford to do a full booth kind of a thing, to just having a user event close to and during one of the trade shows. So if it was a SIGGRAPH or it was an NAB, if we could just do what we really want to do, which is just get together and drink, right? Seriously, let's just cut through all the crud. But it would be that would be a simpler and cheaper thing, to just have a user event close to or around the timing of some of the events. I know that's a concept, but again, takes time, takes money, takes more of what we need.
Yeah, definitely a good idea though, and we will. I think I think when we started last year, we did say these first two updates were like catching Lightwave up, but I think we've done a lot more than that, and I think we've started to get Lightwave back to a very good place, and that isn't going to stop for us doing that over the next few years. We've got some major plans for Lightwave, and I have to say we have had so much fun this year doing this. It's been immensely hard work, and obviously Elmer has shrunk by a foot, but other than that, it has actually it has been a lot of fun doing this, and I'm
actually sitting on cushions here, so I'm still reaching up on my desk because I've shrunk so much. Or maybe it's just no, I cannot say that now.
Leave it.
Because I've been,
right, okay.
So
we've got the next.
Sitting too much.
Yeah.
We've got the next demo at
in 22 minutes.
Yeah. So I don't know if there a video that's supposed to. Isn't there a tutorial we're supposed to run at the end of this one?
Yeah, there is. There's a tutorial that I will be releasing on the YouTube channel very soon. That one is how to do a space fighter flyby.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we'll release that, and then again, new meeting link for the next meeting in 22 minutes. That will be the tendrils demo. Andy's going to do more demos on other things, and then again, same process last time. A couple more interviews and a creating a planet tutorial will be released on YouTube for you to watch.
And if anyone hasn't done the quiz yet, go to the link is Quiz.
somewhere. And also
Okay.
remember there's the 10% discount on the pre-order prices. Lightsaver with a VER that is available until I think the end of tomorrow. So yeah, it's only for a short period of time. If you want an extra bit, it's there.
Yeah, definitely worth doing. And I think also, Ben, you pointed out there was a video worth seeing about reality. Yeah, real,
Yeah, I posted the link in here already, but I'll post it again.
yeah, cool.
Because
probably worth putting in each of the links as we go. It's good for people to see, I think.
And there's actually Lightwave work in there, I know.
Yeah, definitely. Last thing, so obviously the next demo, we're going to be showing off some of like thicken lathe tendrils, the first bit of tendrils and photon shading, and then we've got a big piece on the tendril system at 1800 and when the quiz closes. So or it doesn't matter if we call it Steve, does it? Steve. It's we're going to be showing Steve in the next two updates. So next two sort of demos. Hyperpencil. Yeah.
I like Hyper Steve. Hyper Steve.
Everybody likes Steve better. Okay, it's gonna be Steve.
Yeah, Hyper Steve and
Hyper Steve. Stevie Gons.
Someone suggest Terry.
Steve Gons. So what's that, Ben?
Someone suggested Terry the Tendril.
Terry the Tendril.
Terry the Tendril.
Terry the Tendrils.